Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today, I'm gonna be giving you part 13 of What If Naruto Became the God of Wind. Remember to get this one to 200 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends in your social media platform, and also go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto had the Red Rinnegan and was neglected. And enjoy that guys, they post on this channel. And also, over on Anime King 2, I post a new episode of What If Naruto learned the clone secret in the beginning. So go ahead and check out that and enjoy guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time hearing my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking back to all of you. So yeah. Without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto finally saw Natsuki, as he was so happy, as he gave her the ring that placed over the seal and the Harashin on her finger, as he had waited so long to touch her in the real world, as the both of them felt complete now as they went upstairs. A week passed after that as Naruto adopted Konan into his clan, as he had made Nagato a promise that he'd protect her, and that is what he will do. But, things were getting right hectic right now as Sasuke was trying to take over the entire nations. And something that you will fail at though, as they want to infiltrate on the route and see what is behind the enemy base, as Sasuke had created a line between the two nations to cut them in half, as Naruto, Konan, and Kurenai made their way towards the hidden stand where Kurosaki was already at, as they just need a distraction. That is all Naruto needed, a distraction to attack Sasuke line while they sneak into the hidden ring where Sasuke main base is. A distraction that Gaara and Kurosaki quickly provide. So with that, 3 days passed after that as they made their way towards the hidden rain, sneaking into the tunnels, as they had to split up to search the city. As Naruto went up and disguised himself in his genjutsu, as he watched Sasuke place the shinobis under a strange hallucination. Sasuke had left Itachi's body because Itachi wasn't dead. Yes, he was attached to some strange tubes, as he still seemed to be living, but no state to wake up or do anything, as they also had Danzo as well. Sasuke removed Shisui's eye from Danzo, and got the next one from Itachi, and implanted it into his own, giving him the Eternal Monkey the Sharingan. As Sasuke was using this to control his shinobis, the ones that he had conquered, so they didn't have any will to fight back against him, as Naruto was watching everything until Sasuke summoned a snake. And a hawk, the snake, could sense body signature, as he saw the heat, as Sasuke realized something was off as he attacked, destroying the wall. Meanwhile, Kurenai found the lab, where she saw Danzo, a little boy, and Itachi. She didn't have time, so she took the little boy with her, seeing that Danzo and Itachi was in no state to move with the boy. He just seemed unconscious. Seems like he's been held here against his will. As she went back down to the source where she met up with Konan, but Naruto was not here yet as he heard the explosion. Suigetsu, the reason for following Sasuke, he wanted to fight and get all the swords and swordsmen and know that Naruto is the 8th swordsman. Sasuke made him a promise which he fulfilled, as both him and Suigetsu started a battle. Suigetsu actually thought that he could defeat Naruto just because his body was made up of water, until Naruto froze him and Naruto was about to shatter him when Sasuke intervened. As Naruto saw Sakura, as she tried to attack as well, one hit and he knocked her out, as he sliced Kabuto across the chest as Kabuto jumped to the ground, gasping as blood was exploding from his chest, as Naruto sent the air particles out. Sasuke told his shinobi to move back as they inhale. Naruto then forced the air out of their lungs, making them explode. As Sasuke watched as blood and gore went everywhere. As Sasuke activated Susanoo, but Naruto kept on flashing around the Harashin and smashing into his Susanoo with great tremendous force that blew it back, using wind blades to carve in it. As Naruto's body started to hum with unbridled power, rushing towards Sasuke. Sasuke felt fear, yes, he felt utter fear. Ever since he became the leader, he never felt fear like this. He was the leader of the Hidden Zone and many other nations now. But seeing Naruto run towards him, he was scared. Yeah guys, that was basically last we left off. You guys can switch across the page and check it out for yourself. So, what do you say begin this new episode? As Sasuke was watching Naruto come towards him, he felt absolute fear. He had yet to move from his spot. But Naruto didn't suddenly stop, as he turned his head before vanishing in a white flash. At a remote building with Konan, Naruto appeared inside the building sensing that Konan needed his help, as he saw the Harashin marker on the ground. But she looked fine. Are you alright, Konan? Why did you summon me? Naruto asked, trying to not sound too angry that he was just about to give Sasuke the beating of his life. Look around, Naruto, she said. We need to move out. As Naruto looked, as he saw a large group of Stone Shinobis getting inside the city. They came from every direction. Most must be alarmed by the huge pillar of ice that stood inside the center of their city. Thanks for warning me. I was so focused on Sasuke and the others, I almost forgot about our mission. Where's Kunai though? She went ahead of us. Now come, let's go, she said. I'll explain everything to you on our way out. As they went back through the building that they came from. Let's pick up the pace. She left more than 1 hour ago, carrying the package. Package? What package? And why did she leave before us? Naruto asked. Time skip. Sasuke understand why Naruto left, as Karen, Guren, Kimimaro, and Jugo, all of them were back, with reinforcements. He's seated in anger, as his city was in ruins, and Naruto was the cause of that. He didn't know why, but he knew that he lacked the power to defeat the Blonde, even if they didn't fight each other right now, as Kimimaro and Jugo brought Sakura to the hospital. Karen went to heal Kabuto with her bloodline, and Guren was quite neutral to this. She didn't really care. The only thing she cared about was Yukimaru. As long as they had him in custody, she'd work with them. As Sasuke started to use fire chakra to melt the giant ice sculpture that Naruto and his dragon made. Suigetsu would be injured but nothing life-threatening though. Once done, he made his way back to the tower, thinking about ways to get stronger. Time skip. 1 week later, Naruto group was now resting in River Country, as Konan and Guren were inside the hotel, while Naruto was discussing with Gaara. Gaara was easily able to break through their line. That red-haired girl with the glasses, she didn't much have any in leading that army, as the Sand Ninjas had forced him to retreat back to the Inn Rain. After their arrival, Naruto learned that Danzo and Itachi were Sasuke prisoners. Kunai also sneaked out a boy that they kept there in artificial coma. For what reason, he didn't know. Tsunade expertise might be needed though, because the boy had yet to regain consciousness. Then Konan told him about the hero's water, and how they were increasing their army's power. And Sasuke, about his brainwashing jutsu, Naruto told them, I see, that is most disturbing. Sasuke Uchiha managed to do all those things while we were trying to repel his army, said Gaara. Yes, and he's definitely stronger than before. I didn't encounter any Akatsuki members though. Unfortunately, we have no clue what the last 2 members are up to, said Naruto. Anyway, good job on your mission. Kurosaki will arrive soon enough, and we will settle for Konoha as soon as she arrives. There are lots of things we need to discuss with the other members of the alliance. Oh, it's Kurosaki now. What happened to Tsuchikage Dano? A bit familiar, aren't we? Said Naruto, giving Gaara a smirk. Seeing Gaara twitch a bit when he spoke. I don't know what you're talking about, Gaara said. This meeting's adjourned until Tsuchikage Dano arrived. As he left the room and didn't look back, making Naruto chuckle to himself. Maybe this new development was something good for him. Meanwhile, at Konoha, as Tsunade was still worried about Naruto, as she got the message that they arrived safely towards Gaara, but nothing more. Shizune then suddenly came in. Tsunade-sama, the Mizukage and the Raikage has arrived with their escorts. Fine, send them in, and also call for Natsuki. She will be needed for this meeting as well. Shizune nodded as she left immediately. Time skip. Council room, as Tsunade was already seated waiting for them, as the door opened up as the Raikage and the Mizukage enter with their escorts. A large table was in the center of the room, with just enough seat for the Kages. Natsuki and Shizune were standing behind Tsunade. Zabuza and Kojiro was behind me, as the Raikage was with Yujito and B. Meanwhile, Natsuki did not understand why she was in this meeting, despite her being the, well, most powerful Bijou. Well, that was in the past, and she was nowhere near that level right now. I welcome you to Konoha, Mizukage Dano, Raikage Dano. Please have a seat so we can start this meeting, said Tsunade, as the both of them nodded as they went to sit down. Tsunade turned towards the envoys at the door and signaled for them to leave. As they did, closed the door behind them. As Tsunade sealed off the room. The room is now sealed. Let us start this meeting then. Right, Kagedano, would you please? Very well, said A. As you all know, we managed to push back the attempt from the invasion to the land of Shimigakure and Yukigakure. They were easily defeated in the first weeks of war. Their fighters are mostly at Chonins, with a low level of Chonins. We had no difficulty to force them back to Rice Country, having the advantage of both numbers and skills. However, when we reached our borders, we had to face much stronger and numerous forces on their end. It's been going on for a week now and they have stopped our attack at Ton no Kuni, where we're at a stalemate with them. As she nodded, she turned towards me. I had immediately sent out troops to the front line after getting the report. Konoha, having a lot more ground to cover, most of our troops are sent here, in Hain no Kuni, to strengthen the borders they share the enemy. We have also noticed the rise in power of their troops in the last few days, and they also have the support of the troops from the lands that they have conquered. I find it highly suspicious that they would give in that easily, said Mei. That is something that we need to investigate. As Tsunade and Raikage nodded at that. As Tsunade didn't spoke, your reports are consistent to what we have witnessed in the battlefield so far, and against the hidden sound. Ever since my former teammate Jiraiya perished, our spine network is far less efficient to what it has used to be. Every country that the hidden sound attack share border with the Hain no Kuni, but yet we weren't able to predict and react fast enough to stop them. But I've already sent our best teams of spy to investigate and see what the enemy has in store. Naruto is leading that team. 2 weeks ago I received a letter from the Kazekage stating that Naruto and his team made contact with them on the other side. I know that they left shortly after that and went to proceed with their mission in the hidden rain. But they have yet to report back, she said. That's most troubling. I hope that everything is fine with Naruto, said me, as Natsuki eyebrow and twitch hearing that. The brat is fine, believe me. There's not much in this world I can take him down. But I can try to dispatch a new team in the hidden rain if... But Tsunade was cut off as a bright flash of light erupted in the room. As Natsuki looked into her ring, as she knew what was happening, as 5 people appeared in the room. Meanwhile, the hidden rain, the Kage's tower, as Sasuke was sitting down, thinking about what happened. The blonde and magic infiltrated his capital, killed a bunch of his men and seriously wounded 2 of his officers. Sakura was only knocked out to a punch to the gut. Her recovery went fast and easy. Kabuto was up and running with his cell regeneration kicking in. Suigetsu was the wounded one, taking the combination attack from Naruto and his ice dragon summon. He had to use every bit of chakra he had to stay alive in that frozen hell, as Sasuke had used his fire techniques to get him out, and he didn't want to burn him in the process. All in all, that was a humiliation Sasuke could not tolerate. The worst part in this is that he did not react in the fight. All he did was cover for Suigetsu. Once the swordman was at Naruto's mercy, Sasuke knew that Naruto was playing with them and it made his blood boil. The situation on the front line was not good as well, as they lost River Country with Gaara and his alliance. His enemies managed to reconnect the eastern and western side of the continent, but they were still holding off the other side with the troops that were getting the hero's water. Sasuke knew though that it was only a matter of time before the alliance launched a final assault with all their forces towards the inner ring. Now that they have lost River Country, they would time and coordinate the attack straight towards his country right into the heart. He could only do so much by himself, and the other side has Naruto and Gaara in their ranks. Karen, example, show him the limits that he had, seeing that they were pushed back so easily by Gaara and his forces. He was pulled out of his thoughts as he saw space-time distortion in his office. What are you doing here, Tobi Armadara? Whatever your real name is. You are in a nice mood as usual, and here I thought it would be a visit to my distant relative for a change. Tobi said with a chuckle. The power you showed me are useful, but this is far from enough to defeat Uzumaki. I demand that you teach me that space-time ninjutsu. Your eyes have not yet developed. Perhaps when they reach a final stage. Who are you? Cut the crap. Are you Mother Uchiha, my ancestor? As that blue-haired woman that used to work for you said. I demand that you take that mask off, so I can see your face. Be quiet. You only need to understand that I'm a Uchiha just like you. All will be revealed in time. For now though, stick to the lands that you have conquered, and protect them. Tobi said, snapping at Sasuke, as Sasuke just glared back. I can't defend these lands if all of them are getting attacked at the same time. I only have limited resources and many men will die defending the borders. Now that they have conquered River Country back, that plan of yours to separate them into 2 is completely failed. And now they will attack me with an organized army this time, Sasuke said. Will you stop whining for a moment? You are Uchiha, act like it. And not some scared Jenny that is going in battle for the first time in his life, said Toby. Even so, I am only as good as the man that I command. They have superior numbers and their top fighters are far more skilled than ours. This is something I learned the hard way in the fight against Naruto, Sasuke said. You don't need to concern yourself with casualties. I didn't come here empty-handed. I have a plan that will even your odds and save your resource problem. As he once again uses space-time ninjutsu, this time to bring someone inside the room. Who is he? Asked Sasuke. You ask too many questions, plus, you wouldn't understand, even if I explain to you. Just get me Kabuto and we will start from there. Back at Konoha, Naruto, Kurenai, and Konan the Kazekage and the Tsuchikage was in the room. Naruto-kun, I miss you so much, said Natsuki as she launched in her arms who caught her. As me, I twitch. At the surprise. You're finally back, said Snazzy, and I see you brought some company with you. Yes, we came here as soon as we could thanks to Naruto, said Gaara. Before we go on, there's something I'd like to know. Hokage-dono, who is the woman with you? And the one with you as well, Naruto. I'm somewhat familiar with Kurenai, but those two other women are unknown to me. I would like to know their identity before we proceed, said Mei. There was a slight tension in the room, as consider that the most of them already know who Natsuki was. Well, the Konoha ninjas. But how the others would react, as Gaara and Kurosaki already know Konan and her past as an Akatsuki agent. On the other side, A knew of Natsuki's existence thanks to B and Yujito, as Mei knew nothing of it, while Snazzy was the only Kage who knew them both. Please, allow me, said Naruto, stopping Snazzy from saying anything. As Snazzy nodded to him, I guess for the benefit of the alliance, I shall be sincere. I know each and every one of you personally in this room, and I hope you will understand why some of the facts I am about to reveal to you has been hidden until now. As he looked at everyone, even the escorts. First is Konan, who came with me. She is a former agent of the Akatsuki. She was with the founder, who was my cousin, Uzumaki Nagato, also known as Pain, the apparent leader of that group, said Naruto. And Mei was surprised to know that someone from the Akatsuki was now working with them, as Naruto then told them about his fight with Nagato, and also about Toby or Madara, whatever his real name is, and Konan escaping the Hinrain, as he told them of her new status as a member of his clan and her help with the spying mission in the Hinrain. I am far from pleased to be informed this late about this, Naruto, and the fact that you came here with the Tsuchikage and the Kazekage show that they have accepted this woman. You most likely have the backing of your Hokage as well. So nothing me or the Mizukage could say at this moment could stop this, but I would like to be informed sooner about this next time. As Mei remain neutral, I apologize about this, but I thank you both for understanding, said Naruto. So who's the other woman, Naruto-kun? Asked Mei, as she looked over at Natsuki. As Snazzy and A both closed their eyes or know the truth about Natsuki. Well, said Naruto as he scratched the back of his head, Natsuki is my fiancée. However, you all know her for her other name, the Kyuubi. Gaara, Kurosaki and Mei and their bodyguards all looked towards Natsuki who smiled back at them. Is this a joke, Naruto? Asked Gaara. I assure you it's not, Kazekage-dono, said A. Before you asked, yes, I was aware of her existence. The same happened with Yujito here. More or less. This happened after the meeting at the Iron Country. How is this possible and what do you mean more or less? Asked Kurosaki. As Yujito stepped forward, while we were training, Naruto has given us the same offer for the unsealing. B and I had different reactions. Naruto went first, seeing that it was his idea, and the method was still experimental. It obviously worked for him, as you can see the both of them are two separate people. When my turn came, it didn't work completely. Seeing that my seal is different from the one like Naruto, the result is this, said Yujito, as she closed her eyes. A few seconds later when she opened her eyes, instead of being black, they were flaming blue. As her body also shifted a bit, except for the chakra shroud, like the fangs and the claws. Hello, nice to meet you all, she said, opening back her eyes, as they were now blue. My name is Manantabe, but you all better know me as Inebe, she said. Incredible. Is this procedure possible for Gaara as well? Kurosaki asked, unaware of the several eyebrows that rose when she called him Gaara instead of Kazekage. Unfortunately, no, that is not possible. Shikaku, or the Ichibai, doesn't really like to work with others, and for this to work, your Bichu has to be working with you. I had to alter Gaara's seal in the past, so the influence was less. That was all I can do though. That's alright, thanks to your alteration of my seals, I have a better control of my power, and the Bichu cannot influence me anymore. But what does this mean for you guys, and the Akatsuki goal to seal off your Bichu? Asked Gaara. It is still possible, but really hard, because they will have to gather both me and Natsuki to do it. Two targets are hard to catch than a single one after all, but none of them are aware of my special conditions in Naruto. Mei was about to ask something when Manatabi and Natsuki suddenly turned their head. Did you feel it, Natsuki? Asked Nibe. Yes, that is his power. But how is that possible? What is it? Naruto asked. Is something wrong? There is someone with a Mokiton nearby. Most likely a spy, she said. Tsunade's eyes widened, thinking about who was this person with her grandfather's powers. Tenzo is on a mission near the border. It can't be him. He would never spy on a mission like this anyways. So, who was it then? As Natsuki and Nibe started scanning around the area, Natsuki has received about one tail worth of her former yokai. The body that she had now wouldn't allow her to get back her full power, but she could still use this one tail to open the bloodline that she gave Naruto, and use to win. She could rifle anyone inside this room. As Manatabi started scanning the room as well, the both of them leaped forward as they punched the ground. The destruction caused Zetsu to rise up from the ground. You again, I should have known from the moment they spoke about my grandfather, Kikigenkai, said Tsunade. In a white flash, Naruto appeared behind Zetsu. As Zetsu's body collapsed to the ground, his head sliced off. Don't bother, it's just a clone of his. I was careless, I should have known that they will have spies in every major village from the Alliance. Damn it, said Naruto. As he then pulled out 4 pieces of paper and threw them towards all corners of the room before going to one side, as they glowed for a bit before fading away. I'm sorry everyone, I should have verified the room myself before revealing those sensitive information. Now our enemy knows about Natsuki and we lost a very important edge over them. I have sealed the room again, but I fear there is not much more to hide again. You are too hard on yourself, kid. There are 5 Kages in this room, and none of us thought about that, said A, as he got nods of approval from all the other leaders in the room. Right Kage down is right, Naruto. We're already discussing some important stuff in here before you guys arrived, said Tsunade. So I should be the one held for this room security system. But what done is done. We don't have time to wait over this issue. We need to move on, she said. As everyone returned to their seats, and Naruto went to sit down as well, as Natsuki stood right behind him, while Kurenai and Konan stood behind Tsunade. As Garo was the first one to speak, our first priority is to restore stability to every era in the elemental nations. To achieve this, we must eliminate the threat that Hidden Stone possess. With the recent conquer of the river country, we have the ability to launch a full-scale assault against them. Before such an assault can be considered, there's some new developments that need to be known to this council. As Naruto told about Sasuke, hypnotic genjutsu, and how he enhanced his army with the hero's water. Tsunade was highly disappointed as she heard about Sakura's involvement with the hero's water. She never would have imagined that her teachings would be used in such a way for the ambition of a mad Uchiha boy. Meanwhile, at the Hidden Rain, Kage's office, as Sasuke was currently going through paperwork. Yes, the reports that he received from the front line was not good, not at all. The loss of River Country was a huge setback in his plans. It was a loss that they didn't need at the moment. The Hidden Rain was supposed to be the ideal place for his capital, as he could strike 3 of the 5 great nations from here. The only problem is he needed River Country to be under his command so he can separate the Westerns from Konoha. It was his mistake to place Karin at top. She was more for support, not for front line. Of course, failure was not an option in his army, so you have to make an example out of her, so the others could understand that they should not fail him, not at all. He couldn't exactly order for her death. The bloodline that she had was a really useful one and saved his life in the past. All he could do was demote her, for her to remain a soldier for him, barely above civilian level. She didn't do the news very well, but she chose to remain silent because she knew that Sasuke was in a foul mood. He was pulled out of his thoughts as Kabuto came in his office. What is it, Kabuto? This better be some good news. I believe what I have to report will please you regarding those news from the front lines. What is it, said Sasuke. Very well, the package that Toby has delivered to us has been integrated in the Omega project that we have been working on. Production is coming in the next few days, said Kabuto. Excellent. At least we'll have enough firepower to hold them and at least push forward with this. How many of them will be ready by the end of next week? Asked Sasuke. As far as I can tell, 50,000. Shall I proceed to the chakra enhancement phase as well? Asked Kabuto. Yes, I want them to be as strong as they can before sending them out in the field. We can't allow the to react until it's too late for them to do it. Do what you have to do, but make sure that they are ready by the end of the week. It shall be done, Uchiha-sama, said Kabuto. What about the other project? Is it operational yet? Asked Sasuke. Yes, the device is ready to be tested. I can't believe you thought of that while going through the stuff that Hanzo the salamander left behind. But we will need a live test to make sure that it's operational. I don't care about the details. Send out that entire battalion with it, if you need to. I just want results, Sasuke said. Yes, I shall dispatch a small unit going towards Konoha with it to see its efficiency. I know the perfect person to lead that mission. It will be a chance for her to gain the respect that she lost, or for her to disappear completely. As Kabuto bowed and left, as he saw a random joining on his way out. Get me Karen at once. And you, said Kabuto looking over, go gather a team of around 5 to 10 and be back immediately. I am pretty sure that she will fail again. I just need someone to watch from a long distance and make sure that the device works, Kabuto thought to himself. Time skip. Namikaze compound as Naruto was resting on his bed, with Natsuki right on top of him, both of them naked. They had celebrated their reunion, placed up Silence's seal, so Konan would be here, and the numerous other guests that were currently staying with them. The meeting was stopped yesterday since it was getting late and to resume in the morning. Naruto had a lot of empty spaces, so he gave hospitality to the other Kages, as he asked Kurasuke and Garth if they want to share a room. He had to dodge a mixture of lava and sand projectiles coming towards him, but it was worth it seeing the look on their faces. As it was 6 in the morning, but Naruto was used to getting up early to train. As he made his way towards Training Ground 8, his old training ground. He could have used his own training ground in Namikaze compound, but he didn't want to wake up his guests, as he wondered if Tsunade had put a new member on Team 8, as he was a Jonin while Kiba and Minato were both Chunins. But for now, he started to warm up. 2 hours went by before he decided to take a break. He was currently under a tree, his ultimate wind form activated and his sword by his side. All of his senses were amplified by his bloodline. As Naruto tilted his head as a tree behind him got stick with several kunais. As Naruto stood up instantly and scanned around his surroundings. 1, 2, 3. No, wait, there's another one. As he could sense them in the forest, one of them were barely emitted chakra, hiding their chakra signature deeper down the forest. As Naruto went through hand sign, wind style, Hakuryu, he said, a white dragon was created and traveled straight towards his opponents. Once he reached the first one, the man jumped away just in time. But Naruto Jutsu then suddenly exploded into a particle of wind. As Naruto waited for the air to get into their lungs to expel it out in a force. But nothing. What the hell? Naruto leaped up in the air as he pulled out 2 Harajuku kunai and threw them towards his opponents. It was over before the ninjas could even recognize what was going on. As Karin watched in a mixture of shock and fear. As she felt something appear behind her, the ninjas that she came with all collapsed. As her eyes went wide. But Kabuto said those kunais were to nullify his wind attacks. How did he? She jumped in fear, feeling the blade on the back of her neck. Interesting, so that's how you guys repel my powers. I have to say, whoever thought of this is quite smart. As Naruto noticed, all of them wear some kind of mask to prevent them from breathing in his chakra. As he grabbed onto Karin's mask and pulled it off her face. As her long red hair, as the thing had covered the back of her head as well, that her hair was tied up in a bun in. It surprised him. Who are you, Naruto asked. I am not saying anything to you, she yelled. Naruto stepped forward and pressed his sword deep on her neck as blood started to run down. Why did Sasuke send you here on a suicide mission? What are you talking about? We were sent here to eliminate you with a special wind, suppressing kunai that Kabuto had developed. No, that's weird. No one except for me know how my wind powers do the work. However, those masks of yours, those is what you wanted to test. And to do that, you need to come near to me. I guess you weren't aware of what your true mission was, so you're not really useful to me. As Naruto knocked her using the back of his sword. As he sealed the bodies of the 3 men that he just killed. As he picked up Karin and made his way towards the Hokage's tower. Once he was gone, a shadow appeared on one of the tallest trees. As it was Zetsu, as he witnessed everything once again. His task done, he slowly disappeared once again, having ton of report to give to his eyes. Time skip. River Country. Naruto gazed at the border, as he was ignoring the crowd of shinobi that were behind him. This place was the last meeting for their alliance attack against Sasuke's armies. According to the spies, the Hidden Zone has over 30,000 men, with the alliance over 50,000 right here. But they didn't know what the Akatsuki has in store. Behind Naruto was over 10,000 shinobis from Konoha alone. There was a proposal to mix shinobis from each nation, but it was shot down by Naruto, which surprised many of them, but not without some explaining, as he gave 2 reasons why not. It would take too much time to register such a change in those armies. Time was something the Alliance could not afford. They had to take advantage of all of the River Country right now, before the Hidden Zone had a chance to reorganize their defenses. And also for the environment and the functional knowledge. Each man had an understanding of the surroundings from where they were used to fighting from. So putting a stone ninja at the other side of the elemental nation, say in Fire Country, made no sense at all. And stone shinobi will work better with stone shinobis. So that is the reason why Naruto shot down that, as none of them could find anything to counter what Naruto said. So they decided to cut it that way, with each army remaining where it currently is. The only exception was Kiri. Sharing no borders with any of the countries that Sasuke had taken over, May dispatched her troops between Kumo and Konoha. As Naruto had requested a few people for the army that he had under his command, he asked for the old team 8, Kurnai, Hinata and Kiba, seeing that he worked well with them and they were a former Genin team. And he also requested Konan and surprisingly, Karin. It's amazing to find someone like her, a true-blooded Uzumaki. When the blood tests were announced by Tsunade, she was even surprised as well. She was a Uzumaki, and distant relative to Naruto. She was an orphan, just like Naruto. As she never knew about her origins, when she found out she was quite surprised. After a long week of talking, extreme talking, as Naruto made her see that Sasuke was just using her as a scapegoat. They just wanted to test if they would come back alive with those masks, because this was a suicide mission to kill her off. And Naruto offered her a place in his home, in his compound. After long talking, she accepted, as Natsuki was with him as well. No matter how much he argued with her, saying that he couldn't take the risk of her in the battlefield, she didn't really care and she still followed him. Alliance leader or not, she was going to be there with him no matter what. But the battle was ready. Today, the sun will fall. Meanwhile, at the Eastern Command Center, Tsunade, Mei, and A chose to place their command center right in the center of the Fire Country, where they could reach their troops. As Tsunade was to run the hospital, and Mei was in charge of the prisoners and A was in charge of the camp security. As Mei had a few Yamanakas under her command, this was a way to deal with Sasuke Genjutsu. They would take the prisoners and remove all mental control on them. As Inoichi told him that his clan most experienced members could deactivate the dojutsu by diving into the fellow mine, but only the experienced members in his clans could do it. As Inoichi was sent to the west with Gaara, while Ino was sent to the south with Naruto as well. And also the Byakugan could detect that Genjutsu. Ayo, with his Byakugan that was implanted, could detect the Genjutsu placed on Sasuke's shoulders that he were forced into use. As Hayashi had dispatched Hyugas to help with this, as Neji went west, while Hayashi and Hanabi remained in Fire Country. Hinata was already with Naruto, so he was already covered. And Tsunade insisted on having special medics on the front lines. She remained in Fire Country while Shizune went west, and Naruto already had Hinata and Ino, two of Tsunade's apprentices with him. And Karin also had an amazing ability to heal people. Seeing the bite marks on her body, Naruto was reluctant to make her use her power like this again, but she was very insistent that she wanted to have revenge against those who abandoned her to her death, as Naruto conceded after a while. As Gaara and Kurosaki was in the east, in the Earth Country, as Shizune and Neji and Inoichi was there, but Gaara chose to lead the assault himself, so Kurosaki was the only one there. His reason was that if Naruto, the Alliance leader, was going to risk his life on the battlefield, he saw no reason for him to be protected and far away from the front lines if his friend was going to fight for them all, and he wouldn't just stand by and do nothing. As Temari was against this, but there wasn't much he could say to Kage. Conqueror would have said something too, but he was still at the hidden stand at the border safety, and Kurosaki wanted to be in the fights too with Gaara. She didn't know when they gotten so close, but she had to stay behind because Kage would sneak at one of the command centers, so she was forced to remain in the camp. As Kurosaki looked at the time, it was almost time for it to start. Time skip. It was ready. Operation Stormbringer. They was to break through the enemy defense and push straight forward. The goal was not to recover the hidden rain from Sasuke. Naruto troops were immediately supposed to move towards the border east and west to take the defenders from behind. This will be repeated in every country until they are all certain that no escape routes are left. It was nighttime, everything was dark, only the forest sounds could be heard. Suddenly, two poof of smoke appeared in front of Naruto as his dragon summons came out. Naruto-sama, the Eastern Army has begun the mission, the first one said. Naruto-sama, the Western Army is on the move as well, the other one said. Thank you both, said Naruto, as the both of them pushed away. As Naruto turned back towards his army. The time has come to start our mission. As I speak, our brothers and sisters already start to engage the enemies over the continent. All are waiting for us to join them. From our actions will depend the success of this mission. The fate of the elemental nations will be decided today. We shall prevail and free this world from the Hidden Stone and their allies. Now, move out, Naruto said. As Naruto went off as Natsuki, Konan, and Karen immediately went after him, as the rest of the armies move out as well. Meanwhile, the Hidden Rain, Kage's tower. As Sasuke was alone in his office, still thinking about ways to defeat Naruto and dominate the world. He knew about Naruto's status as the 9th Jinchuriki, but Zetsu reported that Naruto had freed the Biju, had put him in a troubling mood. He always thought in their battles that Naruto always upstaged him by using a different power. There was no other way to explain how a clanless and a talentless idiot like him could defeat him. 3 people didn't appear. Kabuto came through the door. Zetsu came out of the ground and Tobi appeared through a wormhole. Sir, the Alliance is attacking our borders on the south. According to the reports, Naruto himself is leading the attack. With their current speed, they will be here in about 30 minutes with Kabuto. They are also crossing the borders from the other nations. Rice, waterfall, and grass countries are being overrun, said Zetsu. It seems that the final battle for the dominations of the elemental nations has begun. How do you plan to react to their aggression, Sasuke? Asked Tobi. Recall all of our troops here in the city. They won't be able to defeat us here, behind the fortified walls. The other country will have to hold on until we're done with Naruto and his little army here. If that blonde idiot thinks that I only have 10,000 men here, he will have a nice surprise waiting for him, thought Sasuke with a smirk, as Kabuto went to give out the order. Meanwhile, Naruto was continuing to advance inside the Red Country. He was moving forward at tremendous speed with thousands of men behind him, as they weren't even hiding anything, they were just going straight forward, making Sasuke spies tell Sasuke everything, but this was all a lie, because all of these people were just shadow clones. Naruto has already divided his real group into 2 forces, giving them the command to go around and destroy from behind. He knew that Sasuke would try to reinforce himself no matter how many men he lose in the process. The soldiers who were blocked were easily overrun and a lot of them were captured. They were of course casualties on both sides, since most of them were programmed by Sasuke Genjutsu, and they didn't want to fight for Sasuke but they had to. As the 2 groups then went around, as they met again in the Rain Country to form a single army, while Sasuke was just in a decoy, thinking that that was the real Naruto and the real troops. Time skip. 3 days later. It took the Alliance 3 days of fighting, but they managed to conquer every single smaller nations that the Hidden Stone has taken over, with Sasuke was still fortified in the Hidden Rain, as Naruto army used the same tactic, going behind the army while the other side came around and trapped the army inside. And then they would capture them, and the ones who were too resilient would be killed because they had to survive after all. The casualties were a lot. 15,000 stone ninjas had died, 5,000 were captured for the scan by the Yamanaka to remove the Genjutsu, and the Alliance lost 5,000 men during the siege, as Sasuke control man fought to the bitter end, dragging with them as many as they could. It was now the 4th day, and Tsunade was given a very unusual present. It was no other than the head of the medic of the Sound Forces, Sakura Haruno. As she was blindfolded and gagged, she was escorted by both the Hyuga and Yamanaka clan head, as she was brought in front of the council. So, what's her status? Asked Tsunade. As Tsunade was hoping that something was controlling Sakura's mind, she was praying. I am afraid to say that she is free from any mind-controlled Hokage-sama. My eyes could not see any of the Uchiha Dojutsu on her either, said Hayashi. As Tsunade looked down, she feared that this was the result. So Sakura, all of this was her doing. Even though she already knew, she just prayed that Sasuke had used that Genjutsu on her. But it was not. As Tsunade sighed and looked down at Sakura. Meanwhile, Sakura could hear some people speaking around her, but she was gagged and she couldn't see anything. But she could identify some of the voices. She could hear Tsunade, Naruto, and her former sensei. She paled when she heard what she was in for. She was found with high treason, and they find a way to find out who were under Sasuke's mind control. As she cursed, she couldn't believe that she got captured so easily, and by Ino nonetheless. She was in the process of running away before they could start their siege, but she was stopped as they were surrounded from both ends, as Ino then placed a strange jutsu on her. When she woke up back, she was here, hearing these voices, as they were currently discussing her fate. There is but one fate for those who betray their comrades and their village, Hokage-dano, said the Raikage, as he saw Tsunade hesitating on how to deal with Sakura. As Naruto saw that Tsunade she just couldn't say it, so he stepped forward. to take it for her. Haruna Sakura, for your crimes against the Leaf, you are hereby sentenced to death. You would have been granted a quick and painless death if your crimes was only against Konoha for your treason. However, for your participation in the genocide and your participation with the several villages that your master Uchiha Sasuke invaded, you will be executed in public as soon as the situation allows it. Hayashi Inoichi, I want her chakra permanently sealed and her memory scanned for any information that you might find relative to help us win this war against Sasuke. The two clan heads were quite surprised by Naruto taking the responsibility upon himself and the way he spoke. Both of them nodded as they took away the prisoner. She would be extracted back to Konoha as soon as they got what they can from her mind, as Sakura was never allowed to speak for herself for this. She was guilty after all, what could she say? Now, let's move on with this meeting, shall we, said Naruto, as he sealed off the room completely. For the next 2 hours, every Kage gave their analysis of what happened. As expected, Konoha had more casualties, more than any of the other villages, since they fought on more front lines, as the Alliance was currently in control of all of the places that they've liberated from Sasuke's grasp, until those places can rise up once again. So Kiri had to oversee Hot Spring Country, Kumo had to oversee Rice Country, the Hidden Stone had to oversee Water Country, while the Sand took grasp, while Konoha would take charge of Rice Country. Now that everything is out of the way, we have one final matter to discuss, the Hidden Rain, as that was the last stronghold with Sasuke still fortified inside, leaving the other nations as he conquer outside to rot and stay inside the most secure place. Meanwhile, the Hidden Rain, Sasuke was furious as he was pacing in his office. He was livid at that Balon and his friends managed to humiliate them once again. He thought that they would come after him first, straight towards the Hidden Rain, with him being the ruler and him being an Uchiha, but no. They only went for the smaller targets, completely disregarding him and the Hidden Rain. Now he has lost all communication with the other shinobi nations under his command. He also lost connections with Sakura, as her healing ability would be needed with the massive amount of injury that they had. She was supposed to visit Kusa and their new poison facility when all of this happened. The only thing he knew was that the village was attacked and they had to flee. As Sasuke cursed, even Rain Country was out of his grasp right now. The only thing he had left right now is a damn Rain Village, and they were surrounded from all directions. As he only had 10,000 men right now, and a good quarter of them were injured, and the rest were tired and under a great deal of pressure. His last resort was to trust in the project that Kabuto and Tobi has been working on for the past weeks. He was pulled out of his thoughts when Kabuto entered his office. "I'm here to report the success of the activation of the clones, my lord," said Kabuto with a smirk. "Finally, some good news. How many of them already so far?" 75,000, my lord. Some of them are still in the underground lab, but I took the liberty of depositing the rest of them around the village. As Kabuto pulled out a mini-map and showed Sasuke where the new forces were set up. "You did well. Now where is Tobi? Was he not working with you on this project?" "He was, but he disappeared as soon as the clones were activated. And you know that it's hard to track that man with space-time ninjutsu." "I see. What of the person that he brought to help speed up the project?" "Still locked underground. I put him on there with pretty strong drugs. He shouldn't be waking up anytime soon." "What about Suigetsu, Guren, Kimimaro, and Jugo? What are they all up to?" "Ever since he started Sasuke, hasn't really kept in touch with his staff. He's just been here, locked inside his office, only meeting with Kabuto. Suigetsu is dealing with the remain of your army, including Jugo and Kimimaro. And Guren, I'm afraid I haven't seen her. I'm afraid that she discovered that we no longer have Yukimaro in our care, and she went and betrayed you. We will deal with that later. For now, I want you to go with Suigetsu and oversee the injured and the healing. I want them all ready to fight once the enemy attacks us once again." As Kabuto left immediately after that, neither of them looked out the window, or they would have noted that strange bird that was flowing in the sky. It would have taken a small glance at him to Sharingan to see that it was a dragon, a small dragon. The dragon spied didn't take that long though, as he just saw the amount of defense that they had and flew back towards Naruto. There was a lot to report, and Naruto needed to know. Meanwhile, Naruto and the other Kages were still discussing when a poof of smoke interrupted them. "Naruto-sama, as for your wishes," little dragon said, "I went to check out the defenses of the Hidden Rain. They have built up a large wall that go all around with multiple traps on it so you cannot climb up. And they also set up some long-range anti-siege that allow them to launch large rocks over a distance. They are placed on the tallest rooftops that allow them a longer range. And my estimation of their number is 80,000 at least. There was something off about most of them though. I felt something so familiar about them, but I can't put my wing on it." As everyone was surprised that Sasuke still had so much at his disposal. We all know that this was a possibility. We took our eyes off him, and he had time to fortify his structures and forces, said A. But I think he had that much soldiers under his command, and right now they outnumber us and me, and they have the higher grounds. We won't be able to come that much closer to their walls with long-range weapons, said Gaara. Even if we take those machines out their walls or still armed, we won't be able to climb them so easily if they are trapped and have guards shooting us down, said Kurosaki. You're too quiet, Naruto. What are you thinking about? Asked Nade as she turned towards the blonde. We can't get too close, and even if we did, they will take us out. And they have the higher numbers, said Naruto. We already know that, kid. What are you trying to say? Said A. But you have not considered the other way to get in there. Two other ways actually. We still surround them, and right now they're not going to come out. Many of us have something in contract that will help us with the upcoming plan. My dragons can simply fly over them. So now, let's just get to work, said Naruto. Time skip. 1 week later, one agonizing week has passed. Sasuke's soldiers are fine, seeing that they were just the drones programmed by Kabuto, or the Zetsu clones. The ones under pressure was Sasuke and his staff, as he couldn't sleep well, knowing that the enemy was right there, ready to attack. As Sasuke wondered if their plan was to wait there and make them starve to death while they blocked their escape routes. But the silence was finally broken on the 7th day by the alarm blazing in the city as the sky became darker as thousands of creatures were spotted above them. We're under attack, Uchiha-sama. It's the Alliance army. They're attacking us from above. Yell at Jonin that barged right into Sasuke's office. To the walls, idiot. Take position on the walls and shoot them down, Sasuke yelled. As he got on top of his Kage tower to get a better view of the battle, he was soon joined by Kabuto, Kimimaro, Jugo, and Suigetsu. As they looked up, damn it, Sasuke cursed. As he heard a massive roar echo through the area as the King Dragon appeared, sailing down with the other dragons behind him, a lot of them, as Sasuke saw them coming straight down towards the village. But guys, if you end subscribe right here, if you want the next part of this, know what to do. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications to stay posted. Remember, share this with all of your friends in your social media platform. But I'm out for now, guys. See you guys soon. Peace.